Welcome to the Storytelling Loop with Joseph Saracey.
I'm feeling a little bit tired this morning, so I'm going to summon the power of 10 tigers. I could probably tell this story with just 6 or 7 tigers, but I'm gonna go for the full 10. I think I need it today. I told a story a couple weeks ago about my car. A couple mice stole it. Driving around on the ice, I was chasing them on my bicycle. Well, eventually they drove it off the cliff, the gorge out here, the Rio Grande Gorge. And, the mice, they survived. I survived. We're okay. Everybody's all right. But the next morning I woke up and, it's like it all happened in a dream. And so I'm trying to figure out, geez, what am I going to do now? I walk outside. I see the tracks in the snow. There's my footprints. There's the mice footprints. They're living in a couple of my old snow boots now. They peek their heads out. They're looking at me all kind of cute, because they don't want to get in trouble. And I see tire tracks all over the yard because the mice had driven it basically everywhere, doing wheelies and stuff. And, my heart sank low. That's the truth. I mean, my car is at the bottom of the Rio Grande Gorge. It's like almost 1,000 feet down there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what am I going to do now? Because, I need a new car. But pretty soon, another idea popped in my head because I realized that, sooner or later, somebody's going to find that car. And, this is how it works in the world. And they're going to report it to somebody. And they're going to figure out that it's my car. And so I'm thinking about that a little bit, and I'm like, oh, geez, we got to do something. Because I know how it works. Here's how it works. There's a lot of cars in the world. Who knows whose car is what car? But, every car has a license plate on it, right? If somebody finds my car in the middle of the Rio Grande Gorge, they're going to call the cops. That's what they do. The cops eventually are going to make their way down there, and they're going to look at the license plate, and they're going to look it up, and they're going to go, oh, this car belongs to Joseph Saracey. We better go investigate. So I'm thinking I'm going to get in trouble, right? So I decide, all right, if I was really a better man, I would be thinking about how I could clean up my car down there in that beautiful, pristine river. But I'm selfish. That's just how it was, or at least I was in that moment. And I'm thinking, how can I get my license plate off that car? The truth is, it's not that hard to get the license plate off. You just really need a screwdriver. So I went to my toolbox. I had a pretty free day that day. I got a screwdriver and I got a socket wrench for no particularly good reason. But, if you ever played with a socket wrench, they kind of like spin around. I just kind of like that. And so I got my screwdriver. It's a flathead. And I got my socket wrench. And I'm walking down my driveway. Can't drive there, of course. Following the path from the night before, gonna go down, try to find my car. Well, as I'm walking down, I look behind me, and the 2 mice are following me at a little bit of a distance. They don't want to get too close, because they know I'm upset, They just crashed my car last night, so they're keeping their distance. But I think to myself, yeah, well, you better come. You just ruined my car. You better help me out or something. So we're walking down the road, and they're a little bit behind, but it was a nice day. It's still winter. It was snowy. And now, in the light of the day, you can see the tracks of the car everywhere. And I have to admit, it was like a circus show last night. You can see that the car was slipping and sliding and twisting all over it. You can see it in the snow. It's not on the road. Some of it's on the road, but a lot of it's just all over the place. Maniacs, those mice. They're not very good drivers. But it's kind of beautiful, too. Because you can follow the tracks in the snow, figure 8s, figure 18s, I don't know. But there's also prints of coyote from last night and the bird prints. One of the best things I love in the snow is when the birds land in the fresh snow. They'll land and then they walk around and you see those little 3 toes of their feet. But when they take off, that is the coolest thing because they flap their wings and the very first flap, it just barely grazes the snow and you get this mark of the feathers on the snow and then it disappears. It's like, there's nothing left. Where'd it go? Well, it went up into the air. But when you see that in the snow, it's really beautiful, especially a big bird. The little songbirds leave little 6-inch prints, but a big bird like an owl leaves a print about 1.5 feet wide. It's amazing to look at. So I'm walking, looking at the tracks, and I'm cheering up a little bit, because I like these things, and I like my life, and I like walking, it's the truth. So maybe I can get by without a car. And the mice are following me. Now, it's a circuitous route to get down to the river. I can't walk up to where the car had plunged over the edge because I can't myself just jump off a cliff. I don't have that capability. I have to go the long way, on 2 feet. But there is a way to do it. It's a few miles, and I'm walking down the road, and I'm enjoying myself. And I've got my little socket wrench I'm spinning in my hand, kind of like a little noisemaker. And finally, I make my way down to the river. There's a bridge there. I'm probably a good mile from where the car is. And there's a guy in his van in the distance. Looks like he's getting some fishing gear out. Yeah, well, hey, good luck to you, buddy. And there's a family out early in the morning, especially in the winter. It's cold. But 2 little kids, a boy and a girl, and they're running, throwing rocks into the river, crunching the ice at the side. Yeah, that's fun. The mom and dad are smiling, looking at them. Well, I cross over the bridge, and I look to the south because I know my car's about a mile down there. And I start walking along the shore. There's a path for a little bit where the fishermen go, but eventually it peters out, and you're just kind of scrambling through willows and rose bushes and that kind of thing. And the mice, about 10, 15 feet behind me, following in my footsteps. Well, I'm walking, and finally the sun comes out. Now, the sun takes a long time to get in the gorge because it's a little canyon. It doesn't hit that canyon till later in the day. But the sun peeks over the edge, and then you see it sparkling over the water. You can see the ice that forms on the rocks on the sides. It's pretty. And you hear the sound of the river. It's really quiet down there, especially in the winter. There's very few people. And I'm walking, enjoying that a little. And finally, I see this crumpled heap in the middle of the river. And I go, okay, well, that's my car. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty again because I'm thinking about the police officers that are going to discover my car later on. And I'm starting to kind of sneak up, even though I know nobody's really around. I'm taking those long, slow, careful steps, looking around left and right. Anybody watching me? No, it's cool. So I'm going slow. And on the other side of the river, I see a great blue heron. Has those long, skinny legs, stepping carefully, just like I am. I always loved to see those guys in the winter because where I grew up, you would only see great blue herons in the summer. And then in the winter, they flew away because they migrate. But where I live now in New Mexico, this is where they come, some of them, in the winter. And sometimes interesting to see those big blue herons on the shore when it's freezing out. And I'm walking a little bit, trying not to disturb the blue heron. But they're private, He took off. Well, I got down near my car and I think to myself, okay, this is it. There's a car mangled, all smashed to pieces, kind of in one big heap in the middle of the river, and the water's rushing left and right. There, to one side, is the back of the car with my yellow license plate on it. I'm thinking, all right, it's time to get tough, Joe, because you got to go get that license plate. And the water's freezing. At this point, the air temperature is probably about 25 degrees. Water temperature, probably right around freezing. It's not a river of ice. It's flowing, but it's real cold. And at this point, the river is about waist deep where my car is. So I roll up my pants. I take my boots off. I got my socket wrench, and I got my screwdriver. And I take a look at the mice, and they kind of look at me from behind a bush. They give me a little bit of a smile. One of them maybe gives me a thumbs up, Yeah, all right, thank you. And I go for it. Boom, into that river. Boy, that's cold. That's real cold. Whew, up to my ankles. I'm walking a little bit. Hey, it's kind of cold in this river. But, I'm walking. It's all right. You do that thing, if you breathe and you kind of calm yourself, you're like, hey, it's cold. I'm cold, but I'm okay too. I'm all right. I'm just cold. So I'm walking. It's up to my knees. Oh my God, it's so cold. But I'm kind of laughing at myself too. I'm walking a little bit. It gets up to my thighs. Now it's up to my waist. And now, when it gets up to the waist, it starts to almost knock you over. But I'm holding on there. Okay. And I get up to my car. And then I can lean on my car. So I'm stable. And I'm reaching down to unscrew the license plate. And I take off one screw, put it in my pocket. And then the license plate, twists. And I get the other screw off, put that in my pocket. And I hold on to the license plate, and I take it, and I look at the shore. I kind of frisbee it to the shoreline. And the mice are over there, and they're running, scattering. But it lands on the shore, and it's safe, and I think, all right, I think that's basically it. Well, I'm standing there in the middle of the river when on the other side, guess what I see? A chipmunk. You don't really see the chipmunks too much in the middle of winter. And I look at him, and the chipmunk smiles at me, and I recognize him. And I think, oh my goodness, it's been 3 years or something. But I know exactly who that chipmunk is, and he knows who I am too. This is, you got to go way back for this one, but that chipmunk basically the chipmunk stole my beard. It is a long story, but I have one of those beards that comes on and off. You can unclip it when you're washing the dishes. That's what I do. One time, it got misplaced. The chickens got it. The chickens threw it over the fence. The chipmunk ran off with it. He was using it as a little bit of a boat. He was paddling around in the river, having a good time. Now, there's also hot air balloons in the area. You see them frequently. And having seen the hot air balloons, chipmunk turned my beard, which is kind of like a little bit of a pocket when you're not, when it's not on your face, and had turned my beard into a hot air balloon and flown actually pretty far away. And I chased him around, and it was a little bit upsetting for me because that was my beard. But eventually it came back and I got it, and I clipped it back on. Well, I haven't seen that guy in years, and there he is all of a sudden on the shoreline, and he looks at me. I can tell what he's thinking. And you know what he's thinking? He's thinking, Joe, you can't take your license plate off the car and figure out that everything's fine because your vehicle has a VIN. You can find this story and many more like it from Silka Rose West and me, Joseph Saracey, at howtotellstories2children.com/stories. We are the authors of How to Tell Stories to Children, an acclaimed new book empowering parents and teachers to become storytellers with your own kids. You'll also find our podcast on the science and methodology of storytelling, plus info on our book, our storytelling blog, and much more. Visit us at howtotellstories2children.com. Happy storytelling.